Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, SoloSupreme, and welcome back to some more Achaemenid Restoration in Crusader Kings 3. Now, let's see. I'm not sure why, but I feel like going on a bit of a rambling rant right now because a friend of mine, he brought up a really good question that made me think about a lot of things about Crusader Kings that I haven't really thought about. So here's like the grand question he threw at me. He asked me which Crusader Kings I consider the best. Like he asked me did I like Crusader Kings 2 or 3 more? And I had to think about that. I thought about that for a little bit, and he was surprised by my answer. And really, I wasn't too shocked that he was surprised. But for instance, I'm just gonna convert this girl. The question he asked me which one did I think was better, Crusader Kings 2 or 3, and I told him with like really no pause. I just went offhand and said, "Oh, I think Crusader Kings 2 is better," and he laughed because he sees the hours I have in this game, which is over 1,000, and then he sees like Crusader Kings 2, which is like 400 something hours. But I told him I kind of got into Crusader Kings 2 relatively late, and when I really started getting into it, that's when 3 was announced, and you know the rest is history. But I honestly told him, in my honest, humble opinion, Crusader Kings 2 is the best superior game. Now, wait. Before anyone gets out their daggers and pitchforks and, you know, starts, like, trying to burn everything down, I have my reasoning. So, here's my line of reasoning. Crusader Kings 3 is functionally way more superior to Crusader Kings 2. There are way too many times when if you try to do something, it was hitting in a separate menu, or there's like a tiny button at you have to press in a window somewhere for some actions to trigger. That was a UI issue. Here, they pretty much overhauled the UI where it's more user friendly. But my main thing isn't about the UI. The UI was one of those things where, again, once you got used to it, it was one of those things where, okay, you know where things were. Like, for example, the intrigue menu, decisions, whatnot. Oh, you have a Liberty Reward? Oh, yeah, I'll come join. It was one of those things where, like, again, once you get used to it, which could take a little while, it pretty much becomes a non-factor by the end. Who's the chief over here? Okay, it'll be you. But the main thing I feel that's missing that Crusader Kings, oh god, I didn't mean to read that many, but the main thing I feel that Crusader Kings 3 is missing that Crusader Kings 2 has, and this is gonna sound a bit, I don't know, how do I say this? I don't want to sound arrogant about this because I'm not no master player or anything like that, but Crusader Kings 2, and I think I brought this up in past videos, there was more of a sense of urgency in there. For example, Succession, you could, like, for example, start out and quickly get Primogenitor in Crusader Kings 2. Okay, like, Primogenitor, whatnot, you could switch to Elective. It was kind of a lot more free to do those certain things. Like, I know a lot of people love Primogenitor in here because Primogenitor gets rid of one of the issues. I don't think Partition is bad per se. I just think the main reason why a lot of people don't like Partition is because it removes a sense of control over an aspect of the game. Like let's break this down. I know he's probably gonna watch this video. So, all right, let's look at this. We got Confederate Partition. Confederate Partition in and of itself isn't bad. It's just that, okay, when you get to a certain size, a new title will automatically be created and it'll separate from your burgeoning kingdom. I consider that fine. The problem, I know what a lot of people have with it is the fact that you can't really necessarily give out the land like to who's who. If we take My son will inherit a duchy. Let's just say I'm a duke. He's gonna inherit the duchy and the more than likely the capital county, just because it's tied to the duchy. But he will lose all the other land. So it could be a situation where like you have, oh, the first son gets the single county in the duchy title, but then the other son gets a part of that duchy title, which is a certain county. It's one of those things where it could be messy because the next thing you know, you lost like a whole bunch of power, but then you have siblings who have different pieces of land. For example, oh, you can have land over here to breeze. You wouldn't mind giving that up. But I would say unless you have a really built up duchy like this, it's going to be a bit annoying to lose all that land. But it's one of those things where you could come back and, come back from. It's not like the end of the world, how some people make it out to be. But it's just that I think if players have more control over it, they would be more okay with the fact of Confederate partition, because I don't really mind it. It's just that, sometimes I just, especially in this game, I'll just go to the disinherit button because I consider the legacies just added bonus. I don't really consider like building a game around them. It's just one of those things where like, oh, if I feel as though my son is going to get some land, I'm just going to disinherit him. I'll still give him land. It's just going to be the land I'm going to give him. For example, like I did early in the campaign, I didn't just leave like my sons high and dry with nothing. I would give them land. I just had to disinherit them in case I die an untimely death, and the game says, oh, well, you died an untimely death. Here goes your duchy. You get spread apart and everything becomes a janky mess of border gore and nonsense. But going back to agency, I brought this up in an earlier video where I feel as though the main thing this game misses is a sense of internal challenge, because there are a little bit of roadblockers against the AI to prevent them from dogpiling on you on assassination plots and whatnot. Oh, you converted. Oh, well, I guess he demanded someone to convert, and then he converted himself. Okay, well, there goes the Zoroastrian experiment down here. Aw, lame. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the mine's dying. They're here, but he converted to the majority of faith because he's a coward and whatnot. But yeah, like the AI will not dogpile you on assassinations on this game, which is fine. But also, it seems that in Crusader Kings 3, there's just like a weird disconnect going on with like some aspects of the game. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like, for example, in CK2, there is like a logical flow to some things. And here, there's like a bit of a disconnect between, like, for example, you go on walk with your dog as the Persian emperor, and next thing you know, the Byzantine emperor is like wandering the woods with you. Same thing with like, I'll be here, like walking my dog, and then I'm talking to the King of France because he just happens to have a dog too, and we somehow meet. It's like just somehow meet. And then Crusader Kings 2, I do want to say this. I like some of the nonsensical stuff in Crusader Kings 2. I know a lot of people didn't really like it, but when it came to the nonsense, I never thought of it as it's like, yeah, they did get pretty nonsensical with unrealistic events such as the like Lucifer's own nonsense. I never really dabbled in that. I really only dabbled in that when I first started to play Crusader Kings 2. And I was like, oh yeah, that's neat. But then it felt stupid because you have to keep doing evil stuff or else your power will drain. And next thing you know, you'll die. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's nonsense where you could play as devil worshiper and then you could get magic powers. But some of the weird events, like, oh my god, what was the one event? One of the events I missed from here was like the Spawn of Satan event, where there's like that one chance in Crusader Kings 2 where who is this guy? It was that one chance in Crusader Kings 2 where one of your kids born, or some child somewhere, usually it's just one of your kids, they're born, and then the game says, uh-oh, this character, they start having these weird things happen, like these weird childhood events, such as the kid talking to crows and stuff, and then they have like this maid character that comes around, and like the maid like kills themselves, like in The Omen and whatnot, like silly events like that. And then like over time you can help nurture it, and then they like will get a spawn, like an army of witches or something like that, to raise up against the people, and everyone's like, oh, it's the end times. And I was like, okay, that's cool, because that didn't happen often. It was one of those once in a campaign events, but it was something that like shake up the monotony every now and then, and I really liked it. Same thing with Joan of Arc. Some of my most memorable experiences in Crusader Kings 2 had to deal with like really weird and rare events happening at the most inopportune times. Let's see. Oh yeah, let me slow it down real quick. Let the game catch up. Oh wait, I forgot. I'm at the education screen. Hang on. I need to set this up right. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna get off that screen. The child's just gonna be educated on his own for right now. But I miss like certain events like that, like having crazy things. But I know like this game will eventually get there. It's just that when and how will it get there? I'm hoping that the next major expansion is going to be something that really adds some more. And what I want in the next expansion, in my opinion, is something that focuses more on internal realm management or something. Like, because again, I could do this in here in Crusader Kings 2. I could actually do fairly well in Crusader Kings 2, because I at least know how the game functions. It's weird. It's like, oh yeah, I learned Crusader Kings 2, and then that helped me like when Crusader Kings 3 come out, and retroactively me playing Crusader Kings 3, it gave me enough time to learn the rules and stuff to retroactively help me in Crusader Kings 2, if that makes sense. And so I like playing Crusader Kings 3 actually made me better in 2, and 2 helped me become better at 3. I do with that what you will. I don't know how to explain it better than that. But I really, really, really said that in my opinion, I thought Crusader Kings 2 to me was at least better than 3. I felt more tense when successions happened in 3. I'm like, uh-oh, there might be a civil war happening. Then when the civil war happens, it's like a bunch of swashbuckling adventurism and people fighting and dying, and then crazy dynamic stories, because the way they had like characters modeled in 2, there'll be like some weird thing where like a rival is a rival in 2. I honestly feel like, okay, when I have a rival in Crusader Kings 2, it's like, okay, even if I just inherit it as a new character and they say, oh, I have a rival here, and then over time that rival starts doing dickish things like spoiling my feasts and whatnot. Here, when I get a rival, like 99% of the time, it's a random guy from somewhere, and I still think that's due to like my dueling mod, where after I do something to someone in one of these dueling mods, probably when I win the duel, it's like they become your rival, but they don't do anything except randomly like try to kill me if they can. Like the only time I had something interesting happen in a rival, believe it or not, the only time something interesting happened was in this playthrough, and that was when early on when one of my characters like wives, who I like jumped in as a new character, I saw she had a negative opinion of me because the character had attempted to murder her at some point, so I just divorced her, so she became my ex-wife, and I had a dog from an event, and then the dog ran away, and it was like, oh, your ex-wife was seen around the area where your dog disappeared, and I was like, okay, that was like a logical connection I could piece together. Here it's just like, I'll play. You get an event from someone in your prison. He just says he wants to no longer be your rival. I'm like, okay, sure, you don't have to be my rival, but again, who the hell are you? Not yet, boy. I'm about to press your claim soon. Let me do... I gotta do a Pirates. Get this, and then these will be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 counties. I wasted this war. Besides, your capital's right here too, buddy. that's not to say that Crusader Kings 3 is like, I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying that it's really missing some of the meat and potatoes that Crusader Kings 2 had. And that was something I noticed early on when, like, even day one when this game came out. I was like, oh yeah, Crusader Kings 3. Oh, I'm like, nice, cool looking map. This, that, and the other. I knew something was wrong with, I kid you not, I played Crusader Kings 3 like a brand new player. I considered myself like fresh, brand new. I dropped everything I knew about Crusader Kings 2 initially. So I just said, I'm going to start out with a tutorial on Ireland. Believe it or not, in my first campaign, somehow I took over all the British Isles as Ireland, which, you know, it's not that hard. But then by the end of that game, I became Holy Roman Emperor. Believe it or not. And the main reason that happened was in the first couple years of me playing the Holy Roman Empire, from a 1066 start of the tutorial, it completely collapsed after several decades. And then I snaked in, took over some land, and then boom, became Holy Roman Empire. And then the title got moved all the way to Dublin. I was like, okay. At that moment, I said, am I just that good in Crusader Kings that I didn't realize it? Or is something like slightly off? I just considered it like, you know, something slightly off because of the issues the game had with like internal stability for the AI. But when I made, like, right afterwards, I didn't even finish that campaign. I played it, I felt too powerful. Then I said, you know what, let's start a new campaign. I started out as Duchess Matilda. Next, Iron Man mode. Let's go for some achievements. End of that campaign, I formed, like, I should even say end. Halfway through, I formed the Roman Empire, and I was like, okay, something is off, because I felt as though I should not have been able to do that, because I didn't consider myself, like, I'm not trying to sound like, I don't know how to say that. I'm not trying to sound arrogant about it or anything like that. Like, oh, look at me, I can form the Roman Empire. I know, like, people can't, like, easily do that, and some people actively struggle on it. I'm just saying that with how I saw my skill level in this game, I really shouldn't have been able to do that, because I felt like I'm not that great at this. When it came to realm management, Crusader Kings 2, I was like, okay, let me make sure people like me. Uh-oh. Why doesn't he like me? Uh-oh, something crazy might be going on. And then I would be like, oh, next thing you know, I said everything perfectly nice. I'm like, okay, the succession is going to be smooth. Characters aren't going to be going crazy. And I think I could get away with a lot. But then, when I get one, like, set of bad events, one after the other, where it'll be like, okay, your heir dies. I'm like, okay, that's not good, but I could work with it. Then it's like, oh, yo, since your heir died, guess what happens now? All hell is going to break loose, my liege. So my heir dies, and I have to give out titles to, like, a new guy, and someone becomes my rival after an event because, like, you know, tournament or something. And then next thing you know, I have half the court go from loving me to the other half just outright hating me. And everyone then starts to hate me. I start panicking. Uh-oh. I had someone try to put a spider in my bedroom, and I'm like, oh, things are happening. And then when I die, it's like, okay, your uncle who you gave land long ago and far away, he wants to be like, okay, I want to be king now. And you're like, uncle, you can go straight to hell with that nonsense. And yeah, that, or you will, like, inherit as a child, have, like, someone, like, your Regency Council overthrow your mother who loves you, and then they replace him with your uncle, and your uncle starts doing weird machinations in the background, such as granting titles to his friends, and, like, basically kicking out people who like you from the council. And next thing you know, your uncle could declare you insane and leave you locked up in a tower or some nonsense like that. And I was like, okay, it was like the risk of that, like that little bit of risk that you would get for Crusader Kings 2. I honestly felt that it's missing in here. And that's not to say I don't want this game to be, like, in absolute terms, like, super difficult. I just want the game to have, like, a bit more, I would say, things that you would have to worry about internally. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh, finally! Temujin, where you been at? Boy, we've been waiting for you. And get over here. We've been waiting a long time for you. but how should I say this? I think that they should at least have like a game rule where they allow like the AI to be a bit more aggressive to the player. Not necessarily give them bonuses, but say take away some of the restrictions. Like if they had a game rule where it's like, oh, unrestricted murder plots, they would have to. I would like that, but I know for a fact that they added that in, especially without testing or balancing it like correctly, it's going to lead to nonsensical stuff where just a whole bunch of people for no reason are going to try to kill you. They have to like make it make sense like it did in Crusader Kings 2. And that's what I want them to do. I want it, like, if they want to make this game like more challenging, which I don't think they will in a sense, because it kind of goes up against, to be honest, their bottom line, because everyone loves this game, especially how easy and intuitive it is. So like one of my friends who I got into Crusader Kings, he loves Crusader Kings 2, no doubt, but Crusader Kings 3, he's able to understand it much more, like he understands why he's doing something and like the end result. For example, he in Crusader Kings 2, he would like tell me, oh, this happened, but I don't understand why. And then it's kind of like one of those things where we would have to work backwards from the problem, and then it's like, well, like the plumber, like, well, there's a problem. Like, you apparently pissed off like this dude, got into a war you weren't supposed to really get into, and next thing you know, you started losing money, and then it leads to like AI cycling wars against you. That's not fun, and you know, nobody wants to deal with that. But at least here, it's just straight up clear. In Crusader Kings 2, it would be like, I would hear endlessly, X and Y happens, and I don't know why. And since I'm not playing as his character, I can only help out, like, you know, to the extent I know, like, what could possibly happen. But that could be a number of things. But I honestly really want them to continue to, like, you know, continue to refine and grow Crusader Kings 3. Like, for example, when Royal Court initially came out, I was slightly annoyed, and like, because I wanted a different DLC to come out, but overall it grew on me. I actually like it. It's one of those things where, yeah, like, there needs to be more events involved, but I think, you know, give it some time, and like the modding community, it'll basically flourish like to its full potential, because it's actually not a bad mechanic. It's fun. It does help out with a sense of roleplay, and I really want them to, like, you know, flesh it out more. I would like, you know, again, more internal realm management, but that's something where I could, like, wait until they come up with a good idea for it. Because if you just, like, haphazardly slap things together and say, all right, here's your sandwich, boy, you better eat it now and eat it quick before you got to go back to class. Like, if you do that, I'm just going to be annoyed because you just half-assed it, and then when you half-ass it, it just comes out as a mechanic that I don't want to deal with half the time. Same thing, like, I liked how they did with, like, the Iberian Struggle. Granted, I don't really like playing in Iberia the first place because it's just a mess. And honestly, I think they really need to refine, like, you know, have a couple updates to fix some of these struggle issues, because there are too many hard roadblocks in the struggle, which I really think they shouldn't be there. And because it's nonsensical when you take over all of Iberia, but you can't form Spain because X and Y reasons that are incredibly petty, and it's they need to, like, fix some of those hard blocks. If they fix some of those hard blocks, I'd be like, okay, Iberian Struggle, you're pretty good. As of right now, it's good, but it needs some more work, in my opinion. But, you know, for DLC that was like $7 that I pretty much got for free, it did its job. It added some new neat stuff, like where I know they have the building model, like this thingy, and then this thingy down here in Cordoba, and then wasn't there a lighthouse thing? Or maybe it wasn't built because of the time I started in. But yeah, there's like something else over here. I was like, okay, they got the right direction they're going, and I kind of appreciate that. But, you know, they also brought up what I think about Victoria 3, and I honestly, okay. I don't know if this will get me in trouble with, like, most of you guys. But how would I describe my opinion of Victoria 3? Oh man, we were talking about so much of this stuff today, and I kind of want to like just like put it out there. So, okay, you know what? When Victoria 3 was announced, I was super excited. I was like, oh, we're getting Victoria 3. It's going to be updated graphics. Things will actually make sense. It'll like be easier for people to understand so they could get into it. And then there would be a chance where you could play as like some nonsense, like in one of these African counties and be like, I'm an African county. I could probably get a little bit of power and fight back easily instead of gaming the freaking system by farming prestige to become a great power and then blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I really wanted that. And I was like, oh, yes, they're going to like do it. But then over time, I felt like my hype got super, super high. And here's the thing. When they announced like the battle and the war diaries, I'm glad because that helped me temper my expectations a lot. And it's not to say that, oh, you can't fight war like in Victoria 3, you don't directly control the units, so blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, I'm willing to give the new system a chance. But honestly, I think it's gonna be one of those things where I like someone somewhere is gonna have to make it work for me. Like, the system itself doesn't seem bad, but what seems bad to me, like, is the fact that it just seems like, how do I describe it? Because this is gonna sound stupid, because I know what Victoria 2 is. Victoria is like a thing where it's like, okay, a society simulator. You build and like create a society and, you know, help fund the economy and stuff, you know. I can vassalize. Who are you? Oh, you want? Oh, I technically bored. Oh, you want to join the Empire? All right. Oh, she's a part. Oh, okay. Come in, brother or sister. You'll be fine right here. You got a little border thing right there. Okay, okay. But I really say, okay, the war thing kind of tempered my expectations, but it also made me appreciate some of the other mechanics they're trying to focus on in Victoria 3. For example, the buildings and, you know, building up the economy is a lot more streamlined. Trade is actually going to be a much more bigger factor. So I was like, okay, you know, I may not get like the type of warfare I 100% wanted, but it's at least something that will cover my bases on what I like. You know, it's one of those things where like, okay, if everything outside of warfare is fun, then I can, you know, get behind most of the other changes and whatnot, because I was one of those people that did like the wars at Victoria 2. Now, it was one of those things where like my friend of mine, he believe it or not, he's okay at Victoria 2. He's, in my opinion, if he is listening, he was kind of bad at like, you know, waging war, but that's because he was a new player and he doesn't really understand like certain situations. And one of the arguments he remembers seeing on the forums was, oh, fighting the late game wars was like annoying and terrible because you needed hundreds of stacks and stuff. And I found it funny because as a player, he doesn't even have like 100 hours in Victoria 2. He got a decent chunk playing with me, but one of the things he said was like, what are you talking about? You need like 100 like hundreds of stacks to fight when we only need like a handful. And I'm like, okay, some people play the game in a different style, because I'm like one of those people where like, unless, even if I'm like Germany fighting Russia, yeah, you're dealing with a lot of stacks, but I normally would not need, great, I think I just repaired that stupid spear. Yep. I normally would not need that many stacks to defeat like Russia, even in the end game. It is one of those things where like once you kill off a couple of their armies, sure, you got to deal with that crap stacks of just mobilized units, but those are literally just like meat for the meat grinder. They die off relatively quick, and their only thing is just, what's the term, human wave tactics. Just keep throwing it in the pile. Eventually you'll break the wall, but if you don't worry about it, it doesn't really like cause that much damage. But I understand that some people like set up their games in different ways and different styles, and it makes sense. I know multiplayer, we are bordering another player, yeah, of course you're going to be managing like bigger stacks. But even though I don't really play EU4 that often, EU4 to me actually in a sense solves like some of the issues that Victoria 2 was hobbled with, like with the macro builder and all that stuff, making it easier. I wish they did like the Imperator Rome route. Like, even though Imperator Rome it died, it truly died to me before its time, because for the time I did play that game when it came out a lot. I honestly haven't touched version 2.0 just because I've been too lazy to download it, and I'm a lazy bastard. So if it's one of those things where I'll eventually get around to it. But I thought Imperator Rome, when it came out, it was, to me, it was fun for what it was. I wasn't expecting too much from the game. I was just like, I kind of like fell into it late, because when it was first announced, I was like, what the hell is this? And I saw some screenshots and said, this looks weird. Then before like a few weeks when before it was coming out, I heard nothing of it. I didn't see any of the dev diaries or anything. So I just winged it. I said, you know, I like Stellaris, I like Crusader Kings, I like EU4. Let's give Imperator Rome a shot, because I thought, to me, the screenshots made it look like a board game, ironically enough, but it's so I decided to play it, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. And like, as basic as it was, but that's, again, I'm like not a super player when it comes to these games. I thought, for as what it was, for like, in my opinion, for like me as a new player, as a like completely new who didn't see anything about it, it served its purpose by being like a dumb, like, fun game where, oh, you start out as Rome, and then next thing you know, you take over all of Italy, and then you get super crazy stacks, and then you also have like the heavy infantry, and the main reason you get it because you only have access to iron, and if you keep iron in the world all to yourself, you can just spam heavy infantry, like blah blah, and then next thing you know, achievement unlocked, Mare Nostrum. Like, I was like, okay, that was fun. But one of the things I thought was cool was the automate armies, and I use that. I would be like, okay, have a couple stacks over here in Iberia, set them up to automate. Have a couple stacks in Greece, have a couple stacks down here in Egypt, and then like I would keep an eye out on Italy and like over here in Palestine and stuff. I would just do that. And like, you know, when I declared war, say if I declared war on some random tribal jerk in Iberia, I wouldn't even have to pay attention to it. My stacks would just do it for me. They would just go over here and say, oh, you declared war, win, siege, win, and then I'm like, okay. All the while, I don't even realize I'm at war until it's like, oh yeah, I look down, I said, oh, we're at 98% war score right now. I really thought that would have been cool, but I want to see where they're going to go with Victoria 3. I kind of want to see where they go, because like, this is going to sound stupid, because some of the vibes I've been getting from the game is that it's going to be good, but it is one of those things where, how do I say? Let me try to formulate this thought a little bit more. I think it's going to be good, but the thing is, with like, besides the trading, I get like they're trying to focus more on diplomacy and trading. You know what? Here, I want to go in we're gonna like divert this rant a little bit more, as much as it's not a rant, but I'm gonna go onto a rant right now. So let me like ramble about this nonsense. Victoria 3. The main thing for Victoria 3 that they've been hammering on about since the announcement is that it's all about like this bright, hopeful future in the Victorian era. And believe it or not, I'm one of those people that say, okay, a bright and hopeful future in the Victorian era. I'm like, oh yeah, I get it, like, because people like did cars, is discovery, but I'm like, that era in human history, it has like some of the worst atrocities occur. And I find it funny how like especially the gameplay trailer they had, it's like, oh, look at this, the automobiles driving down the road, honk honk, how you doing, mister? Get off the road, you asshole, with your horse and cart. It's like, oh yeah, everything's happy and cheerful, but I'm like, this is during the era where, oh god, what was that? Okay, so there was like this, I can't think of the incident name, but it had to do with in Africa during in one of the German colonies, and I think there was a general. I want to say von Trotha, like it's like something von Trotha, I believe, where I think it was like in I want to say Angola or somewhere like I might be mistaken, but there was like this conflict in the German colonies where like they had like a little bit of an uprising. So what did they do? Well, here, you can look this up. I'm probably going to get this wrong, and I hope if I do, someone just corrects me or something. But he basically destroyed villages. He did like scorched earth tactics. And he drove like the tribes people who were rebelling against him, they're like women and children, including the men, into like this desert that's like just below here, like on the west coast of Africa. He drove them out there, and he basically blocked them like from leaving the desert, poisoning the wells, like the water wells, the few water wells that were in the desert. And I don't, this sounds messed up because I'm laughing, but he literally blocked them from leaving and like have them like starve to death, die of heat stroke, like all like dehydration, everything in the desert, until they finally just gave up. And then he just moved in, and then like they you know did their thing. And then also they had like camps and stuff. I'm like, okay, when I think of a grind tomorrow, I'm not thinking of like, you know, okay, sure, we can think about the innovations like the telegraph machine, automobiles, steam engines, trains. But I'm like, okay, this is an era where people said, we ain't dealing with it. And so we're going to deal with it our way. If you don't want us to deal with it, you better calm down. And then they would do like horrible things like that, such as World War One, like during like the Armenian genocide over here, like in the Ottoman Empire, and then like, you know, the Russification of the Caucasus. Like it's full of stuff like that. And then like the very tail of the era, you start getting colorful things such as eugenics and oh my god, such as eugenics, fascism, the spread of communism, like in movie pictures. But the thing is, Victoria 3 seems like they're focusing on the movie pictures part instead of like, oh, the clear human atrocities and crimes against humanity, which I understand, but like, come on. In my thing, I'm just seeing that as like, come on now, like really. And I get that's probably why they're like focusing more on like the more fun and lighthearted stuff, such as building up your cities, help expand the economy, do this and that, while ignoring this part, which is why you know, the war system is kind of like, you know, as straightforward and basic as it is. I'm not saying that it's going to be a terrible system, nor am I saying that the game is bad because, oh, it's not going to focus on like crimes against humanity. Like no one cares about that. I'm just saying that it is one of those things where I just find it as a little bit of tee-hee joke when it's like, oh, the game, like the trailer ends with like this man and woman where I'm assuming France or something are like, we just won the election, or like this happiness is happening. But it's kind of like if you juxtapose that between like people being lined up in front of a ditch and shot in like a African desert or something like that. Yeah, it's kind of like in a dark sense of humor I'm trying to get at. I don't know. That's just my ramble. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But anyway, let's get back to some more Achaemenid. Oh, you conquered this? Oh, you're behind? Alright. Well, since Temujin is here. Oh, he's invading Siberia. Oi! Hey. Can I kill him if I wanted to? I could just kill him. My half-sister cousin and court sorcerer? What the hell? She's my brother-in-law's court sorcerer. Wait, I guess he has a fancy position. Oh, you want to be... Oh, he gave her a duchy? Oh, I guess he did. Oh, that was one of the duchies that rebelled. Oh, sure. I guess he's trying to land his family, right? All right. Sorry about me. But anyways, I think the main question is, will I get Victoria 3 when it comes out? Yes. Honestly, unless something like, because I know they're about to demo it during the next PDXCon, in a few months, I think in October or something. I really want to say, like, you know, I want to give it a try. It's not saying I'm going to PDXCon. Hell no. I have no way of going there. But I know the people who will play it, and I know there'll probably be some, like, good old YouTuber who's definitely going to go there and be one of the first 100 people to play it and stuff. So I kind of want to see that. I do know they have the leaked versions out. I haven't really seen anything about the leaked versions. I heard like some people discuss it and stuff. And actually, hang on, I did see some of the leaked footage. I only saw like about a few seconds of like the main menu and like loading up the game for the first time. But I didn't really like care to pay too much attention to it. But a lot of people say like, oh, it's like some issues and stuff. But it's one of those things where like, yeah, it's an early build, but it's one of those things where the core ideas like behind most of their mechanics are like already going to be set in stone for that. But again, I'm willing to give Victoria 3 a chance. Like the war mechanic, like I say, it doesn't bother me. It's just one of those things where like, oh yeah, I miss doing like cheesy, like funny stuff to like my friends. For example, like one multiplayer game I played where I formed Greater Germany, and one of my friends was playing as the United States, and another one was playing as Russia. And friend who was playing as the United States, he got into did you really go here and give me this stupid thing? This is it. You bastard. I sent you to find me something truly unique. You just come back with some stupid armor. Oh, God, I wasted money on you. Okay. Thank you for helping me lose stress. But anyway, back to what I was saying. He was playing as the United States. He got into war with Great Britain to take over like parts of Canada, and Mexico. I allied Mexico and speared them as Germany. And it was funny because I wanted to start what's that thing called, that liberate country Casus Belli against them to return like the west coast of the United States, like basically the American Southwest and all of California back to Mexico. And I was like sailing troops over, like dude playing Russia, he wasn't paying attention to me. I was just loading men up on a boat, sailing them over, past like through the Caribbean. And then he happened to notice, he said, hey, why are there German he said, why are there the German like Navy going down like the Gulf of Mexico? And at the time, Mexico was having a little bit of a revolt. And I was like, you know, I actually was at the time helping out. I said, okay, I'm cleaning up the rebels because they had like rebel issues. So I wasn't lying. That's the thing. So I was like, okay, help cleaning them up. But what I was doing was after I cleaned up the rebels, and like loaded up like several well-stacked, well-trained German troops, I put them just here, like not at the border, but a little bit below the border where he can't see because of the fog of war. Because they can see directly on like the directly controlled provinces at the border, but if you go just behind that, they can't see through the fog of war. So I had them lined up. Like I had one, like I'm gonna call them, I had Army Group I had Army Group North going up through California, Army Group Center that was gonna go spread through the Midwest, and Army Group South that was just gonna tear ass all the way to Florida. And I was gonna like have the entire West Coast and the South Coast of America like all conquered, and just focus pushing upwards to the Northeast where its population centers was. He didn't know this until like the last minute when I was fabricating the Casus Belli. In the last like 2 months, it said, oh, your guy was discovered, and he didn't get the notification until a little bit later where it was like, Germany is fabricating a liberate country on you, or what was it? It was like liberate or free the people, one of those two. And and while he was in the middle of the war with Britain, I all of a sudden, once I got everything all gathered and I had the German Navy, I had them stationed in like Mexico. I said, I just shouted Blitzkrieg, declared the war, and had Mexico join my side, and he was trying to get Russia, the Russian player, to declare on me. The Russian player was too afraid because he was like way behind on military tech, and he was mostly focusing on what's it called, industry. And so I was like, Russia declares war on me. As like, as Greater Germany, we all know, especially without like a backing of like a France player or anything, you know. So I just rushed through the American Southwest. He had no forts built really, and me and Mexico were just tearing ass. We took over all of California. We took over like New Mexico, Arizona, like all of them. Texas. I pushed all the way to Florida, conquered that. And then once I conquered all of Florida, Louisiana, like all of those little southern states, I just pushed northward and was heading straight to DC. I destroyed the American fleet in the Gulf of Mexico, and and so all he had was the Pacific fleet, and he had to sail all the way around like South America, and he knew if he did that, I would have just killed him outright. And I said, I just surrender, or else Mexico's gonna add something to make it worse. And he surrendered. I have to say, I'm glad he surrendered. It was funny. He lost like the Southwest, and Mexico loved me. And then he was like, oh well, I'm gonna like go declare war on Mexico once you leave. And I was like, right when I was preparing to leave, I'm like, oh, I'm glad you told me that, because now I'm just gonna have German troops permanently stationed in Mexico. And I'm not going to leave, because if you declare war on Mexico, Germany is already going to be here to back them up. And I was like, that was like things like that made it feel so funny, so cool, so imperialistic. I felt powerful. I really, really missed that power. That's one of the things I feel as though it's going to be slightly missing in Victoria 3. But I have a feeling that hopefully they'll make it up for it in other ways, because the market system seems neat. But I'm gonna miss things like that in my little fun multiplayer games. But again, if the combat is already gonna be like, if it's at the bare minimum, all I'm just expecting it to be is entertaining. If it's at least that bare minimum, I definitely could get behind it. But it seems that my TED Talk is coming to an end, because right now I did not realize I rambled for almost an hour, and it honestly felt like 5 minutes to me. It was cathartic in a sense, really cathartic. Even though I know probably a lot of you guys are annoyed right now. But I'm gonna wrap this video up right here. We're almost done. Oh, look at that. I can do Thessalonica. Yeah. Let me declare this war. We're almost done with our like conquest over here. We're almost done pushing as far this west as I want. And let's see. Yeah, your capital's up here. Okay, I ain't really got to worry about you. And then Temujin, Temujin, if he declares war on me, I'm way too powerful for him at this point. Even with his fancy special soldiers, I will, if he does, because he is attacking my faith up here, and I might have to put him down like hard and fast. But we'll see where this goes. I might be able to negotiate something with him. That's a possibility. I don't want to like completely slapdash it, but it is a possibility that I could help him out. Oh, Auburn Osh, you're fine. Who knows? Maybe I'll go on another minor rant in a few minutes when I start the next session. I don't know. Maybe. I kind of felt like I was being a bit of a jerk to, like, say, Crusader Kings 3 and Victoria 3. But I honestly love this game. I just want all the best for this. Same thing for Victoria 3. That's why I'm looking forward to the expansion for Crusader Kings 3 and the future release of Victoria 3. I really can't wait to see what the modders do for Victoria 3, because it's going to be a lot more flexible, and it's gonna be a lot more easier to, like, you know, download mods straight up on Victoria 3. I just cannot wait to see what they come up with. Maybe that'll be for the next topic on next video. Mods. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more. And I hope to see you guys again soon. This is SoloSupreme, and have a great day, folks.
Now this one is pure niceness.